So we have today with us Matt Brennecke, and he is the head winemaker at Mount Pleasant in Augusta, Missouri. And he has graciously allowed us to interview him today. And so, Matt, how did you become a winemaker?
Well, it's an interesting and complicated story, I think. I grew up in Augusta is the answer, the short answer. When you grow up in Augusta, there were a few jobs that were easy to get for a kid. I was 13, I wanted to have some of my own spending money. I was looking around for things to do. And my buddy had the lawn mowing situation kind of sewn up, and that was the easiest one for a kid. But because viticulture is agriculture, you can start working in a vineyard when you're 13. So my very first real job that I got paid for was at Montel tending vines. So starting doing that, and by the time I was about 17, I was occasionally assisting with harvest duties for the winemaker there. His name was Mark Bayman, and when I graduated from high school, I was ready to go to college. Mark encouraged me to stick on and learn the trade, but I was determined to get out and see new things and do different things. So I did that. I was a school teacher. I did other things for a while, but in my 30s, I came back and took the same job that I had when I was 17, which led to me being a cellar master at Mount Pleasant, working for Mark Bayman again. From there, when the vineyard manager left, I took over vineyard managing duties. And then a few years later, our winemaker moved on, and I took over both departments. And that's the story. Most recently, things have changed here, and I'm general managing as well. So pretty full plate, but I'm excited about it, and it's a really interesting career.
So I'm sure you've probably had different people ask you, like, what's the difference between like a Merlot or a Cabernet Sauvignon and a Norton?
Well, I guess the primary difference is that they're different grapes. So entirely different vines. They have different characteristics in the way they grow. The clusters look different leaves, different climates that they thrive in. And for Missouri climates in particular, Norton is a great grape. It really grows well. When it comes to flavor profiles, Norton is lower naturally in tannins. It's a little higher in acid, and it has a more aggressive and spicy flavor than either Merlot or Cabernet. A little less structured because of the lack of tannins. So it's going to be different in mouthfeel in the glass. It's going to be different in how it hits your tongue and responds to your palate. It's going to pair with different foods. So I really like Norton as a grape. I think it's underrated on the world stage, and I think one of the things I'm excited about with the Hoffmans bringing their energy and abilities to Mount Pleasant and Augusta in general is that I think Norton in particular, Vignola, and a few other grapes will become more well known nationally and hopefully eventually worldwide. I think they deserve a spot on the world stage.
So do you think that Augusta could become another Napa Valley?
I think that's the easy way to talk about it. Everybody understands that when you talk about Napa, you're talking about prestige, you're talking about high quality, you're talking about a very specific terroir, which would be the flavor of the terrain, how it affects the fruit and what it makes the fruit taste like. So will we become another, like a clone of Napa Valley? No. Will people talk about us in the same way that they talk about Napa Valley? I believe that's what we mean when the Hoffmans speak about Augusta being the next Napa Valley. It's not that we're going to try to pattern ourselves after Napa. Napa has its own climate. They have a much longer growing season than we do. Warmer climate, obviously, so our fruit's never going to taste exactly like Napa's fruit, but that doesn't mean it's not quality, and that doesn't mean that people won't enjoy it in the same way that they enjoy the fruit that comes out of Napa. They're the PR engine that the Hoffmans have behind them, and the notoriety that they carry as they move around the place is going to bring a lot of attention onto both our winemaking skills and the the tradition of excellence that we have here, as well as the technology that they're bringing to bear to increase our technical proficiency, our quality, and our ability to produce.
I know a lot of people have asked me, and I can ask you because you're directly associated with them, but are the Hoffmans nice people? And I've heard that they grew up around here too.
That's true. Yes, they're absolutely nice people. More down to earth than you might expect. Very genuine and caring when it comes to their staff. They like to pay at the top of the scale, and they expect excellence for it. So there are a lot of changes happening here in order to, increase. I feel like in terms of our winemaking especially, that we have a tradition of excellence here. I think Mount Pleasant is known for excellent wines, but the way the Hoffmans are going about this and the purchases that I've been allowed to make for wine and grape receiving equipment, laboratory equipment, etc., we're definitely increasing our ability to make quality wines here, and that's my main concern. But as far as are they friendly and nice, yes, I enjoy talking to them. It's pleasurable to spend time with them.
Where do you grow the grapes? Are the grapes grown right here, or are they someplace else?
Well, so that leads to a really interesting short story. Augusta is a very unique microclimate. So I'm standing with my back to the river, which is to the south, and you may be able to hear the sound of it, but there's a nice breeze happening right now. That breeze is constant. That breeze starts in the morning as soon as the sun starts to hit the valley. The curve in the river behind us is the last bend before the river turns north and goes to St. Louis. That bend is surrounded by a limestone ridge that creates a bowl around that curve. So in the morning when the sun comes up, the fog lifts off of the river and moves throughout the valley and touches all of the grapevines on its way up the hill, followed by a sun-driven breeze that dries those grapevines out throughout the day, and by the evening, because the slopes are mostly southeast facing and they have the sun is off of the grapevines just after the hottest part of the day, so the vines go to bed happy at night, which is what makes a healthy vine. So we grow mostly on those southeast facing slopes just north of town. As you come into Augusta on Jackson Street, the vineyards on either side are Mount Pleasant's vineyards. They say Kernenshield because they are a separate property from ours, but we tend the grapes and grow and use the fruit here at Mount Pleasant.
So now I'd like for you to brag a little bit about your vignoles. So you're pretty well renowned for your vignoles.
Yeah, Vignola is a great grape to work with. It's a little challenging in the vineyard, but in terms of its flavor profile, it's a rock star. It lends itself to almost any kind of style. I prefer it dry or nearly all the way dry, but it can make a great German style semi-sweet, or I know some wineries even take it all the way sweet, but I prefer it dry. Yeah, and we had some great success with ours last season. Got rated in the 90s. It's unusual for a Missouri Vignole, and one of the highest rated vignoles that's ever come through the rating agency that we use. So yeah, I was very pleased to see that. And being a new winemaker, it was really great to see those ratings right off the bat, because you always wonder, like, okay, do I really have this down? Do I know what I'm doing? But to have one come out and to get some reassurance from people that aren't associated with us at all, know they don't owe me anything, to hear that they appreciated it and had great descriptors and ratings for it, that was really fun.
And then do you have any food pairings with the vignole that you made?
So vignole's a really interesting one because it is sweet, fruity, and kind of a bold wine. It pairs really well with Thai food. So that's not something you usually think of. You think, all right, well, whites and fish, reds and beef, and what else is there to know? But I really prefer to taste the wines up against the foods first. So if I've got a tip as far as it goes with trying Vignola with food, try it with something spicy if your palate allows you. Yeah, some Thai food, something spicy, even spicier barbecues go really nicely. I've had it with pizza that was, spiced up a little bit. That's a fun one and kind of unexpected. So my pleasure when it comes to pairing foods and wines is to find things that you don't expect. And the goal with any wine pairing is not that they don't taste bad together, but that together each individual element tastes better. So if you can get the whole to be more than the sum of its parts by blending the wine and the food on your palate, that's what you're looking for.
So then my last question is, do you have any tips on any of the specific wines that people should buy or look at, or any kind of anything that you might want to pass on to people that might be trying Missouri wines for the first time?
Absolutely. The first tip I would say is to try to not make comparisons to wines that you know right off. That's the easiest thing to do in our heads, is to say, well, how is this compared to a Sauvignon Blanc? How is this, you asked the question earlier, how is Norton different from Merlot? Well, they're both grapes, but they're both red, but there are so many differences. So rather than saying Norton is like a spicy Merlot, I'd prefer that people try Norton and try to come up with, what flavors do I perceive? What's in my mind? Do I get clove and allspice? Do I, what are you experiencing? So come out to Missouri wine country, try Chamberson, try Vignola, try Norton. Some of the things that we're known for here that you don't get in other wine regions, and really try to give them a chance on their own rather than making comparisons to things that you're familiar with.